Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Faisal. Tonight we have amongst us Sheikh Imran Hosein, the pioneering scholar of Islamic eschatology. We are honored to have Sheikh Imran with us this evening. Tonight's talk will be on Dajjal, which will be for 1 hour and 15 minutes. We will have a short break, followed by a Q&A session from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. You will have an opportunity to meet and greet Mulana and also have a chance to have your books signed. During the Q&A session, may I humbly request you keep the questions related to the topic. Please kindly keep one question per person to give everybody a chance to have an equal opportunity. Without further ado, let me introduce Sheikh Imran Hosein.
Alhamdulillahi wa kafa والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على أفضلهم وخاتم النبيين محمد الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Brother Chairman, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters of Islam, here in Birmingham, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah that I'm here in Birmingham even though there's no snow. And Alhamdulillah that I get a chance tonight to speak with you. And Alhamdulillah, it's a small gathering. We want to keep it small. You know why. On a subject of very great interest now in the world, the subject of Dajjal, Al-Masih al-Dajjal. And I want to begin by, can someone just pass me a copy of the book on Dajjal, please? By sharing with you the good news that I have finally written. I've finally written my first book on Dajjal. I thought it would be one book, but then when I started to write, I realized no, I'll have to write several books. So this is the first of what I propose to be 5 books. This one is entitled Dajjal, the Quran, and Awwalul Zaman, or the beginning of history. But tonight you can only hold the book in your hand and look at it and browse to it. But you cannot get a copy tonight, because the shipment will arrive, inshallah, in about 2 weeks' time. So if you want, you can order, you can book your copy, inshallah. So when it arrives, you'll be able to get your copy on Dajjal, the Quran, and Awwalul Zaman. The cover design was done by someone in France, one of my students in France, Nadir, and it shows a clock ticking away. The subject of Dajjal is not easy. But I remembered when I was leaving my home to come here, I remembered my teacher, Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari Rahimahullah, who trained me not to accept anything until I was convinced that it was correct. That's how he trained me. So I will go to him and say, Maulana, I don't agree with you. And you know what he'll do? He just smile. Nothing else. He'll just smile. This is a great teacher. Because 4 months later, I'll come to him and say, Maulana, now I agree with you. But I have learned, I have many critics, all of them, plenty, who differ with me say, Maulana, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. So what I should do? You should smile. That's the best way to respond. They say, the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam is in Medina. And he's pointing east, Maulana, east. And he's saying Dajjal will come from the east. And Britain is in the west. Maulana, did you not study geography? Just smile, that's all. Don't do anything else. Just smile. Our subject is Al-Masih al-Dajjal, and this has come from Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. He described him as Al-Masih al-Dajjal. So what is Al-Masih? Masih is the Messiah. And the Quran tells us of Al-Masih or the Messiah. He is a prophet of Allah who is sent to the Israelite people, in Arabic, Banu Israel. He will be their prophet. But he will bring back for them the golden age, when the holy state, which was created by Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, the prophet David, and which was his son Sulaiman alayhi salam, the prophet Solomon, became the greatest state in the world, or the ruling state in the world. And they were ruling the world. That was the golden age. And then, for reasons I will explain to you subsequently, that golden age suddenly came to an end. They didn't know why it came to an end. Up to now, they don't know why it came to the end. Immediately when Sulaiman alayhi salam died, the golden age ended. But we know why it ended, and they don't, because we have the Quran. So Allah then promised them that He will send them this Messiah who will bring back that golden age, who will rule the world from Jerusalem. This is Al-Masih, the Messiah. And when Allah sent the Messiah to them, He sent him in such a way to test them, a terrible test, and they failed the test. Some of them passed, but most of them failed the test. And they said, وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ هَذَا. He's a bastard, and a bastard cannot be the Messiah. And then when they saw him die on the cross before their very eyes, he gave up the ghost. No, he could not have been the Messiah. This man named Nabi Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, the son of the Virgin Mary, he could not have been the Messiah. Why? He's dead. He never ruled the world. The golden age never came back. And so they're still waiting for the Messiah to come. They know that if Allah makes a promise, Allah will keep His promise. And so they're waiting for the Messiah to come. But we, the Muslims, who follow Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and that part of the Israelite people who accepted Nabi Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, we are the two people who say, no, he was the Messiah. Only two people on the face of the earth believe that he was the Messiah, the son of the Virgin Mary. And we believe that he never died. And Allah raised him and he will return. And they believe that he died and he was resurrected and he will return. That's the difference between the two. But The important thing is we are the only two people on the face of the earth who believe that Jesus will return. We are the two people, the only two people who believe that he was the Messiah. We are the only two people on the face of the earth who believe that he will return. I don't think you need a PhD to recognize that these two people must come together in the end time. That's elementary logic and common sense. Part of the Christian world, however, is moving away from the belief that Jesus will return in flesh and blood, and moving towards a belief in a spiritual return. And that is the Western Christian world. They're moving in that direction. And because they also have something called Christmas, you've heard about it? Christmas. And now they have a fellow with a big beard. They prohibit beards, but this fellow has a beard. And it's a big beard, and he comes on a reindeer from the sky, from the North Pole, every Christmas. Yeah. And he has effectively replaced Jesus. Oh yes, in Christmas. I don't know whether you've ever met him. He's a fellow called Santa Claus. So I refer to that part of the Christian world which is moving away from the belief in the return of Jesus in person, in flesh and blood, and now watering it down to a spiritual return. I call that Santa Claus Christianity. And you don't know, I don't have any boxing gloves. I'm just saying it for fun. Yeah. But there is another part of the Christian world which has not as yet been embraced by that fellow with the big beard, Santa Claus. They are the Orthodox Christians. And they firmly believe in what we also believe, that Jesus will return in flesh and blood. In fact, we have something more than that. We believe that when he comes back, he will get married. And I hope it will be a Palestinian girl. I don't know about you. And when he comes back, he will not only get married, he'll have children. Yeah. He will die, and we'll pray over his body and said, he will be buried, who said it? Nabi Muhammad. He will be buried next to me. So, they said, no, we reject that belief that he was the Messiah. And so they are waiting now for the Messiah to come. Allah's messenger said to us that Allah created someone who will impersonate the Messiah. Take them for a ride. Get them to believe that he is the Messiah, when in fact he would not. He would be Dajjal, the one who has a PhD in deception, Dajjal, the deceiver. And Al-Masih al-Dajjal, because he will seek to get them to believe that he is the Messiah when he would not be, rather he would be the false Messiah. The Christians have another term. They also believe in Dajjal, but they call him the Antichrist. This is the common belief that we have with them. belief in the Antichrist. The Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam confirmed that the Messiah will bring back the golden age. Oh yes. He said that when Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns, he will return as Hakimul Adil, as a ruler. As a ruler who will rule. Rule what part? Maybe Birmingham? No. No. Rule the world. Rule the world not in the sense of ruling downtown Birmingham, but rather ruling the world in the sense that there is no rival who could challenge his rule over the world, and no combination of rivals who can challenge his rule over the world. In that sense of the world, he's coming back to rule the world. But he's going to rule the world with justice. Justice. Because prior to his return, it would be Dajjal who would be ruling the world with a mountain of lies and oppression and injustice. Indeed, said the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, oppression will increase to such an extent that a man would pass by a grave and roll on the grave and say, I wish I were in the grave rather than the dead man. Not for religious reasons, but because of biting oppression. So if you cannot understand the reality of the world today, if you cannot understand this war on Islam and on Orthodox Christianity, if you cannot understand the constantly increasing oppression, here is Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam coming to you to explain to you so you'll understand why the oppression. If he is to rule the world, I'm talking about Dajjal, and convince the Jews that he is indeed the Messiah, then he must rule the world from what he would claim to be the holy state of Israel, which is located in a part of the world of the earth called the Holy Land. In the Quran, Al-Ardul Muqaddasa, Suratul Ma'idah, Al-Ardul Muqaddasa. And in another part of the Quran, Al-Ardul Mubaraka, the blessed land. But he has a problem. The problem is that the Muslims conquered Jerusalem in the lifetime of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And from that time, the time of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, until the First World War, which is a long time, Muslims ruled over the Holy Land and over Jerusalem. So if Dajjal is to successfully impersonate the Messiah and convince the Jews that he is indeed the true Messiah, number one, he will have to liberate the Holy Land for the Jews. Number two, the Holy Land was given to the Jews, to the Israelite people. Allah gave it to them, and the Quran says so. Yes? يا قوم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا قوم ادخلوا الأرض المقدسة التي كتب الله لكم. The words of Musa alayhi salam, Surah Al-Ma'idah. Allah gave the Holy Land to them. How come CNN doesn't tell us that? Isn't it strange? How come it's not published on the front page of the New York Times? Isn't it mysterious? Huh? They never mention it. They never mention that the Quran says that Allah gave the Holy Land to the Israelite people. Come on, tell me, why are you so silent? Okay, I'll tell you why. Because Allah also says in the Quran, He gave the Holy Land to them conditionally. If you have read my book entitled Jerusalem in the Quran, you'll be familiar with this subject. And the condition was that you must have faith in Allah, be faithful to Him, and you must be righteous in conduct. And it is not righteousness that you should be arrogant. Arrogance and righteousness don't stand together. They stand apart. And it is most certainly arrogance that you should say, we were born superior. We have a birthright of superiority over all of the rest of mankind. Heaven is reserved for us. That's arrogance. So Allah, every time they were wicked in their conduct and they betrayed the condition of righteousness, He always expelled them. But the last time He expelled them, He put a ban on them. They could never return to reclaim the Holy Land as their own. Never. You could come back as a tourist here, but you cannot come back to reclaim the Holy Land as your own. And for 2,000 years, they could not come back. But if He is to successfully impersonate the Messiah, He has to liberate the Holy Land for them. Number one. Number two, He has to bring them back to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own. Number three, He has to restore a state of Israel in the Holy Land and make the claim that this is holy Israel of Nabi Dawood and Nabi Sulaiman alayhim salam. And number four, you guessed it, He'll have to cause the state of Israel to become the ruling state in the world. So now we know, my language is going to be a little harsh now, that when modern Western civilization argued 100 years ago and 80 years ago, all that we want to do is to find a home for the people who do not have a home. That's all we want to do. I'm sorry, it was a lie. I'm sorry to use this language against modern Western civilization. You lied. No, you did not want to take them back to the Holy Land so they could have a home in which they could live. Rather, you wanted to create a state of Israel which will one day rule the world. That is what you want to do. But you never told us that. Okay? So these are the four things that Dajjal will have to do. And then after that, of course, he has to build a temple. Because Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam built a temple. In the Quran, Allah speaks of 4 houses of worship. And He commands us to fight, to wage war, to protect them. Yes, protect them. This is in the Quran, Surah Al-Hajj. He speaks of churches. He speaks of temples. He speaks of synagogues. and he speaks of masajid. وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْدَهُمْ بِبَعْدٍ لَهُدِّمَتْ صَوَامِعُ وَبِيَعٌ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدٌ. And then he says about the church, and about the temple, and about the synagogue, and about the masjid. Although some people are very angry with him for saying it. He said, يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا, that Allah's name is mentioned frequently in these houses of worship. Yeah. And he wants us to protect them. But when he referred to what they call the temple, he didn't use the word temple. He used the word masjid. Subhanallazi asra bi'abdihi layla min al-masjid al-harami ila al-masjid al-aqsa alladhi barakna hawla. What is the implication of the choice of this language in the Quran? That Allah should choose to describe the house of worship built by Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam. He does not use the word church, he does not use the word temple, he does not use the word synagogue, he uses the word masjid. Me, I'm still thinking about it, and I invite you to also think. You know, thinking is a good thing, huh? They don't accept that the Masjid al-Aqsa, which is there now, is the temple built by Sulaiman alayhi salam. And they insist that they have to knock it down and build their temple. They insist on it. And so, after Dajjal has completed all four, number one, liberate the Holy Land for them. Number two, bring them back to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own. Number three, restore a state of Israel in the Holy Land and make them believe that this is Holy Israel. Number four, cause that Israel to become the ruling state in the world. After that, I believe, only then will they seek to demolish Masjid al-Aqsa to build their temple. And then he will stand up in Jerusalem and declare, I am the Messiah. And as they say in the storybooks that the children read, they say, crick, crack, the wire bends, and that's the way the story ends. I have finished. He can rub his hands and say, mission accomplished. I've taken them for a ride. Has he as yet liberated the Holy Land for them? Huh?
Yes.
I think so. Don't you agree? Has he brought them back to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own?
Yes.
Yeah? I think so. Yeah, I believe. Has he restored a state of Israel in the Holy Land as yet?
Yes.
I think so, yes, yes. Is it now likely that that state of Israel is poised to replace the United States of America as the next ruling state in the world? My view. And I wrote it in Jerusalem in the Quran 15 years ago. This is how I would like to introduce the subject to you of Dajjal. That he's already achieved a substantial part of what he needs to do to complete his mission. So if we have not been able to recognize it, that Dajjal has been released and he's been actively involved in the affairs of the world for the last few hundred years, I suspect, maybe you'll agree with me, I suspect we've been eating biryani and going home and sleep. I hope my language is not too harsh. Because I know biryani is a very nice dish. And I prefer to use a soft language because I do have the harsh language inside of me. Yes, I have a fire inside of me raging. Disappointment, frustration, you name it. For people and an ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, who have eyes and yet cannot see. Yes. Allah gave them a capacity to think, and they refuse to think. So I have to try to contain myself and use the gentle language rather than to use the harsh language. Yes. But if he had been released, where is he? Have you ever seen him? Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam one day he meets one of his companions who comes to him. His name is Tamim ad-Dari, a Palestinian who was a Christian, became a Muslim. And he has an experience. Is it an actual experience, or is it a dream, or is it a vision? That's for you to decide. And he narrates to the Prophet ﷺ this experience, and it is in Sahih Muslim. It's known as the Hadith of Tamim ad-Dari. He said that he and some of his companions went on board a ship. And ships normally travel in water, don't they? In water. So if you're in the Arab world, and you're traveling in water, he traveled for a whole month before they came to land. So it wouldn't be the Red Sea. It wouldn't be the Red Sea. It will have to be the Mediterranean Sea. It wouldn't be on that side of the Arabian Peninsula, where the Persian Gulf or the Arab Gulf is, because we are here. So they travel for a whole month. A storm comes and blows the ship, until finally they reach to land, and it's an island. Don't ask me how they knew it was an island, because I don't know. When they got on shore, they are confronted by a hairy beast or creature with so much hair they could not tell which side is head and which side is tail. So there is in this island that which conceals its true identity. And then this hairy beast began to speak to them and to inform them that I am Jassasa. Now, you can, if you have scholarship in the Arabic language, you can take out your sword and you can start to cut and weave and so on about what is the origin of this word. But I don't want to get into any stick fight or sword fight. I take the meaning which is plain and simple and clear in front of me. Jassasa is a spy. So this is an island which has expertise in espionage and spying. And Jassasa says to them, pointing in the direction of, I believe there is a hadith which describes it as a monastery lying in ruins. If you can find a hadith, send me a text please of it, a hadith. But he points in the direction of a building in ruins. If it's indeed a monastery, then this is not only an island of expertise in spying and espionage, and of concealing its true identity, but it's an island in which religion will eventually crumble. And the churches will be sold to McDonald's hamburgers and Kentucky Fried, and the monasteries will become bingo halls because religion will collapse in this island. We're making progress now. When they hurried to that place, and when they reached there, they found a man, powerfully built. But he had chains. His hands were chained to his neck, and his feet were chained. And they were scared when they saw that. And the man began to speak to them and question them. Where are you from? And they said, we're from Arabia. Has the Nabi al-Ummi, and Nabi al-Ummi, for us that means the Nabi who is unlettered. But for them it means the Nabi who is not a Jew. Has he come? Yes, he has come. Are the people following him? Some are and some are not. Well, I tell you, they should follow him, says this man. And then he declared, I am Dajjal. I am Dajjal. And when I am released, meaning he's not as yet released, I will enter every town and every city. Excuse me, sir. How can a human being enter every town and every city? Huh? I would have said to him, this is not a normal human being. I will enter every town and every city. A normal human being can't do that. He said, is there any water left in the Sea of Galilee? They said, yes. He said, it's not going to last for long. When Nabi Muhammad ﷺ heard this from Tamim al-Dari, he said to the people, sit down, sit down. And he then narrated to them what Tamim al-Dari told him. So we're getting this narration not from Tamim al-Dari, we're getting it from Nabi Muhammad ﷺ. He said, I have heard from Tamim al-Dari something about Dajjal which confirms what I've been saying to you. Indicating that Dajjal is chained on an island, which is about 1 month's journey by sea from the Arab world, which conceals its true identity, which has specialization in spying and espionage, and provided we have the evidence of the hadith, that in this island religion will collapse. And when he is released, it is from this island that he will commence his mission to eventually rule the world from Jerusalem, from this island. Which island is it? Nabi Muhammad ﷺ, sometime after this event, he said to his companion Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, I suspect a Jewish boy in Medina to be Dajjal. So come with me. And they went and they met with the Jewish boy and there was some exchange. His name was Ibn Sayyad. And the boy was rather impolite or impertinent in his replies. And Umar got angry. And he said, "O Messenger of Allah, give me permission." I cut off his head. What is important about this event is that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam never confirmed that that boy was Dajjal. No. All that he confirmed is that the possibility exists. That's all. Read between the lines. The Prophet is sending a message to us through this event that Dajjal has now been released. The possibility could not exist of anyone being Dajjal if Dajjal had not as yet been released. This is a elementary logic, elementary common sense, not particularly difficult. So if Dajjal is released in the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and he's already at work, and in fact he's almost completed most of his mission, just a little bit now left, where is he? And which island is it? The Prophet said that when Dajjal is released, he will live on earth for 40 days. And always remember that the language of revelation is sometimes to be understood literally, and sometimes it is to be interpreted. When it comes to 40, most certainly interpretation, because a man asks the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, "O Messenger of Allah, which was the first masjid built?" He said, "The Kaaba." And then he asked, "Which was the second to be built?" He said, "Masjid al-Aqsa." He said, "And how much time elapsed between the two?" He said, 40 years. Huh? Even a child would know. It was much, much, much more. It was a few thousand years. So when he gave the answer 40 years, he is telling you, be careful. When the number 40 appears, it has to be interpreted. Do not accept it literally. Because between the building of Masjid, the Kaaba, and Masjid al-Aqsa were probably a few thousand years. How could it therefore be 40 years? So Dajjal, when he is released, will live on earth for 40 days. Please don't believe it's 1 month and about 10 or 11 days. Okay? No. He went on to say, Yawmun kasana, one day which will be like a year. Yawmun kashahr, one day which will be like a month. Yawmun kajum'a, one day which will be like a week. Wasairu ayyamihi ka'ayyamikum, and all his days, meaning all the rest of his days, like your days. Now then, if there are those who are persuaded that they have to search somewhere in the North Pole where a day could last for a whole year, my response is to smile, that's all. No need to pick up any boxing gloves. Rather, I hold the view that there are samawat. Beyond this material universe, Allah has created other universes. Sometimes they are called in physics parallel universes. Some of my students have warned me, don't use that term. I don't know why. Or other worlds of space and time. And there are 7 of them, Sab'a Samawat. And we know about it because our Prophet went there. He went to each one of them and came back and told us about it. So Dajjal in his first day is in a world of space and time, different from ours. But he's on earth. Can you be on earth and yet be not in our material universe? Huh? Are there angels in this room? Yes. Can you see them? No. Are they in our material universe? No. Are they in our world of space and time? No. Are they on earth? Yes. Are there jinn in this room now? Yes. Can we see them? No. Although I suspect we could see them in Washington. Are they in our material universe? No. No. Sufyan, I hope you don't mind making a little joke now and then. To keep the audience from falling asleep, Sufyan. So, do we therefore have evidence Dajjal can be on earth and yet not in our world of space and time? Yes, elementary. So when he is in a day which is like a year, he is on earth, but we can't see him. Similarly, when he is in a day like a month and a day like a week. So this appears to be three stages of his mission. The first stage being very long, the second stage being shorter, and the third stage being very short. At the conclusion of which he will now appear in human form in our world of space and time. Where is he on earth in stage 1? Where is he in stage 2? Where is he in stage 3? Meaning his headquarters. I want to turn now to a verse of the Quran which I have interpreted. And you know the law with me. When I give my view, you must never accept my view or my interpretation or my opinion. Never, 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 until you're convinced that I'm correct. That's the way my teacher trained me. So I don't want students who simply accept everything I say uncritically. You're dangerous to me. If I make a mistake, how can you correct me? So where will he be? Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Suratul Mursalat of the Quran. And Allah says, Intaliku, proceed. For me, proceed in the historical process. Intaliku. Ila zillin. Zill, a shadow. Shadow. Zi thalathi shu'ab, which has 3 parts. My understanding or my interpretation is that Allah is speaking here in this ayah of the Quran of Dajjal as a shadow who will appear in the historical process in 3 stages. Stage 1, a day like a year. Stage 2, a day like a month. Stage 3, a day like a week. But you don't have to accept my interpretation of the Quran, no, if you're not convinced that I'm correct. I came to the conclusion that the island was Britain. And this is why I thank Allah that after 15 years of not visiting Britain, never, Allah brought me to Britain. I planned what He planned. So in August this year I came to Britain for the first time in 15 years. When I was a student in Geneva, Switzerland, of course, I used to come regularly to Britain. But for the last 15 years I had never come. I avoided Britain. But when I came in August, I suddenly opened my eyes to realize what I should have realized before. Well, maybe I also was eating biryani and going to sleep. And that is that those who were born in this land, who grew up in this island, and who have mastered the English language, who have a mastery of the language, and who are therefore able to use the language effectively to pursue research, and who study the island, study its history, its political history, its economic history, its monetary history, its military history. These are people better equipped than the Pakistani in Darul Uloom or the Egyptian in Al-Azhar University or so, to understand Pax Britannica. That the political scientists in Oxford cannot. No, you can do it. They can't do it because although they may be doing their PhDs in Oxford, they don't have the Quran. And they don't have Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So I recognized, I said, oh my gosh, Imran, how couldn't you see this before? That there is an opportunity, there is a possibility here for Islamic scholarship to emerge in the future that will dazzle the world. And now I'm on my second visit, and I just went to Manchester, and I'm now in Birmingham, and I find the ulama. Everywhere in the world, the ulama keep far from me. But I come here, and the ulama are now coming to me. And we are engaging in constructive dialogue, and there are no bottles and stones being thrown. It's MashaAllah. Yes, there is a possibility for this country. Yes. How did Britain emerge? Napoleon referred contemptuously to Britain as a nation of shopkeepers. That was what Napoleon said. And suddenly, after Spain had been a ruling state, and Portugal had been a ruling state, and Holland had shown a muscle and so on, and Germany had shown suddenly Britain emerges with the supreme naval power in the world. And Britain commands the seas. And the scientific and technological revolution explodes in Britain. And it is applied to military technology, and it gives to Britain a power unmatched by others. Okay? The edge, the military edge came from the scientific and technological revolution, and it was born here. The industrial revolution was born here. The application of science and technology to industry. The revolution in the world of money, in consequence of which Britain suddenly became, you won't believe it, the financial capital of the world. How did it happen? Was it Santa Claus who helped them? Huh? How come this little island becomes the financial capital of the world? When will our people start to think? I'm sorry, I have a rage inside of me. Boiling rage for people who simply eat biryani and go to sleep. Britain becomes the ruling state in the world. Pax Britannica emerges. And Britain has a mysterious obsession with the Holy Land. I don't want to take the whole night with you. Just to point to the Balfour Declaration should be enough. How do you explain? A secular state, the leading secular state in the world, in a modern civilization which is emphatically secular, with a new secular political philosophy and a new secular model of a state saying the theocratic state should go back to the museum. And this Britain wants to establish a Jewish national home, a Jewish state. My gosh, maybe somebody should get a bucket of water and wash my head. I can't understand how. This is Dajjal. We, from Islamic eschatology, we can explain the phenomenon of Pax Britannica, but they cannot from the universities. No, they cannot. And then came Pax Americana, and the sterling pound is replaced with the US dollar. And I'm cutting a lot of corners now because we have only 1 hour. And now we are located in that moment of the historical process from our eschatological perspective, not theirs. When Pax Americana is in irreversible decline, and Uncle Sam is riding out into the sunset. These are bold words. How can he speak so boldly and with such certainty? Oh, I've been saying this for 15 years. It's there in my book, Jerusalem in the Quran. And there's going to be now a passage from the second stage to the third stage. That's where we are now. And we can recognize what they want to do. That they want to replace Pax Americana with Pax Judaica. When I started saying this 20 years ago, they said he's a madman. They're not saying that anymore today. No. Along the road, we have to try to understand how is it possible for them to achieve this passage. That the United States also has this mysterious obsession with the Holy Land and with Israel. Massive military aid to Israel. Massive transfer of military technology to Israel. An obsession with protecting and preserving Israel. You can't explain that with normal tools of political analysis. You have to come to us with eschatology for us to explain to you. We noticed that from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana, they needed 2 world wars and 20 million people had to die. So it's not difficult for us to understand that the passage from Pax Americana to Pax Judaica must entail a very, very big war. Dajjal doesn't care for how many will die. No. I wish I had the time to introduce you to Gog and Magog, but I'm afraid we don't have the time tonight. But I have a book entitled An Islamic View of Gog and Magog in the Modern World, and you can read it. I want to now turn to a hadith of Sahih Bukhari, and it's been there for 1400 years now. Yes, I know that I have interpreted the hadith differently from it has ever been interpreted before. And as a consequence, there are many who are quite angry with me and annoyed with me. And are now gunning for me, critics. The hadith is that the river Euphrates will uncover a mountain of gold, and people will fight for the gold. And 99 out of every 100 who fight for that gold will be killed. And each will say, I will be the one who will survive. But the believers must not touch that goal. I am not at all of the view that this is language which is to be understood literally. But they have a methodology that I recognize to be defective. They are my brothers. And I don't like to pick up boxing gloves for my brothers. No. When they differ with me, I much prefer to smile. They say that only Allah and His Messenger are authorized to interpret Quran and Hadith. No, you are not authorized. And if they did not tell us any interpretation of the mountain of gold coming out of the river, then we are obliged to wait for a mountain of the metal to come out from underneath the river. So, because I don't like boxing gloves, I say to them, brother, if you are insistent on that, I only want to suggest you find a comfortable sofa, because you got a long, long wait ahead of you. Because Allah in His kindness allowed me to study international monetary economics in 2 universities, I was blessed with an insight that is not normally available to the graduate of Darul Rum or Jamia, to the Shuyukh and to the Muftis and so on. This is Allah's gift to me. I don't want to take you now into a lecture in monetary economics, no. But to point out to you, if you've been listening to me, then you'll know something of what I'm talking about. That in 1974, the US dollar was in no man's land. It could collapse at any time. Because in 1971, the US government reneged on its obligation under international law to redeem US dollars for gold at $35 an ounce, provided that you were a central bank. They reneged on this obligation under international law because a very wise leader in the Western world, General Charles de Gaulle in France, could understand what our Maulanas and Muftis and Shuyukh could not understand. The monetary system which we are now using, all of us, was bogus, it was unjust, it was fraudulent, and he blasted it in a speech at the French National Assembly in 1966. He then ordered the French National Bank to redeem dollars for gold under the agreement of the International Monetary Fund. And the Americans got scared because they didn't have enough gold for all the paper they printed. If I had done that, they put me in jail. Who could put Uncle Sam in jail? So then after the renege on this obligation, the US dollar no longer had any link with gold. It was just paper. It could collapse. They needed something to salvage the US dollar. And they used the war of 1973 to do it. King Faisal had warned them that he would impose an oil boycott on the United States. And he did it. You're too young to know about it. And when he did it, what happened to the price of oil? It's not the price of oil that was going up, dumb. It was the dollar was going down. It was $3 a barrel, and it eventually reached $12 a barrel. 400% increase. And the Arabs are now very wealthy, the Arab oil producing countries. The US dollar, which was $35 an ounce in 71, reached to $40 an ounce of gold in 1974. And as soon as the war took place and the oil boycott took place, it collapsed by 400%. from $40 a barrel to $160 a barrel. 400% collapse. Huh? Then Kissinger went to Faisal and made a deal. And Faisal, even though his heart might have been in the right place, he didn't have much upstairs. So Kissinger was able to take him for the biggest, longest, most destructive ride in all of history. First, Kissinger said, if you will only do one thing, you will be very, very wealthy and we will promise to seek the security of your state. All you have to do is to sell oil for only US dollars, nothing else, in order to create a permanent demand for the US dollar. Faisal fell for it. He got the other Arab oil producing countries to join, and then OPEC joined. And thus was born the petrodollar. And the US dollar was saved, survived. Now it is an ocean of oil underneath the river, which is functioning as a mountain of gold, and this is the fulfillment of the prophecy in Sahih Bukhari. Oh, but Imran, you are the first person in history to say that. You cannot be right. No one else ever said that before you. So, what do? Smile. That's all. Just smile and wait. Just smile and wait. But he went on to say that they're going to fight for the mountain of gold, which is the petrodollar monetary system. And that's where we are now. If you've been doing your homework and not just eating biryani, you know that the fight for the mountain of gold is now taking place. BRICS has come to challenge the mountain of gold, the petrodollar monetary system. China is openly challenging the petrodollar monetary system now with a petro-yuan. So, I don't know where the fireworks will start, maybe in Korea, maybe in Syria, maybe in Ukraine, the fireworks might start, but we know the purpose and the major reason for the big war that's coming is the mountain of gold. That's where we are now. That's the big war. At the conclusion of which the big powers will knock each other out. The world will be substantially smaller. And then their plan is that Pax Judaica will replace Pax Americana. At the end of a day, which is like a week, when Pax Judaica has existed for a short period of time, then Dajjal will appear in human form. I'm going to take just a little bit more time. Bear with me. Here is this hadith which is lying there for 1400 years now. Nabi Muhammad ﷺ is speaking to his companion Mu'az ibn Jabal. The hadith is in the Sunan of Abi Dawood. And he said, Umranu Bayt al-Maqdis Kharabi Yathrib. When Jerusalem is center stage, flourishing, using the analogy of construction, built up, at that time, Jerusalem is the capital of the world, and look at Yathrib, nowhere. Why doesn't he point to Makkah? Why to Yathrib? Because Makkah has a status even lower than Yathrib, that's why. So in Akhir Zaman, Makkah and Medina play no role in the world. In Akhir Zaman, Makkah and Medina have no role to play in the world. But Jerusalem is center of the world. Then he went on to say, Qarabu Yathrib Khurujul Malhama. That at that time when Yathrib and Makkah are nowhere, the Malhama will take place, Armageddon, the mountain of gold that they're going to fight for. Has there ever been a war in which 99% of all combatants have been killed? I don't know. Maybe I was sleeping when it happened. Maybe the Turkish people have some knowledge that I don't have, and the Muslims of the Balkans, who are my brothers, and they'll be listening to this lecture eventually. Maybe they have knowledge that I don't have. As far as I know, there's never been a war in all of history which has killed 99% of all combatants. And therefore I think I am on firm foundations, and my audience will agree with me that the Malhama has not as yet taken place. That Armageddon has not as yet taken place. That the war which will kill 99% of all combatants has not as yet taken place. I have to shout so that my voice might reach to Turkey, and to Bosnia, and to Albania, and to Macedonia, and to the whole of the Balkans. I want my voice to reach there, that's why I'm shouting a little bit. The Prophet went on to say, Khurujul Malhama, Fathul Constantinople. After the Great War, the Malhama, the next event which will take place, and it is an exciting event for us. It excites us. It will be the conquest of Constantinople. Yes. I don't have the time tonight to enter into an elaborate analysis of the conquest of Constantinople. But what I do know is I've not done enough work as yet on it. Yes, I know there's more to the subject than I have so far understood. But they say that the conquest of Constantinople has already taken place. Bosnia says so, Albania says so, Macedonia says so, Turkey says so, all of them say so, that the conquest of Constantinople has already taken place. Imran, you're wrong. What should we do? Smile. Just smile. And let time teach them a lesson. They say it was Sultan Muhammad Fatih who was the man prophesied by Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Yes, you're wrong. They say I am wrong. I say you're wrong. Smile. Leave them. Leave them. The conquest of Constantinople has not as yet taken place. The one prophesied by Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And when it does take place, there will be very, very dramatic implications which I don't need the time, I don't have the time to share with you. They went on to say, Fathul Constantinople, Khuruj al-Dajjal. That only after the conquest of Constantinople would Dajjal appear in human form. At that time, of course, Sa'iru ayyamihi ka'ayyamikum, he will be in our world of space and time. Don't send me an email, please, to say, Sheikh, 40 minus 3 is 37. All right? No, spare me. Don't send that email to me. All right? Because what can I do? Just smile. When Dajjal is in our space, our world of space and time, of course, we now have the appearance of Imam al-Mahdi, not before. And after that, Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns. Dajjal declares that I am the Messiah, and they accept him. And Nabi Isa alayhi salam kills him, and that's it. He's finished. Before I end, and all I have done tonight is introduce you to the subject. I've cut many corners to fit this in 1 hour. Before I end, who is this who's going to appear in human form? But no human being can enter every town and every city in the world. No, not possible. So what kind of human being is this? The most important point I've made in this book comes from Surah Al-Sabah of the Quran. Again, I have interpreted the Quran as no one has ever interpreted before me. So you can imagine, what is my state. Who is he? Huh? They're very angry with me. All I can do is smile. Surah Al-Sabah of the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives an experience to Sulaiman alayhi salam, and we recognize it to be a vision, but you must check it out yourself. And Allah says, "Ba'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Wa laqad fatanna Sulaiman." We caused Sulaiman alayhi salam to experience something which caused him distress. Fitna. وَالْقَيْنَا عَلَى كُرْسِيهِ جَسَدٍ. And we placed a jasad on his kursi. For me, a chair is kursi, but for a king, no. For a king, the throne is kursi. So Allah placed on the throne of Sulaiman alayhi salam a jasad. A jasad is a body with nothing beside it. If you take gold and you melt it, and you make a golden calf, which is what the Samiri did, then the Quran describes that as a jasad, a golden calf. No soul, no spirit, no self in it, nothing, just a golden calf. That's a jasad. But if you put someone on the throne to sit on the throne, it won't be a calf, it will be a human being. So Sulaiman alayhi salam sees this fella, if you'll allow me to use the word fella, this fella sitting on his throne. And when he looked and he saw him and recognized who he is and what he stands for, it caused immense distress to Sulaiman alayhi salam. Immense distress. In consequence of which he immediately, ثُمَّ أَنَابِ, he immediately turned towards Allah penitently, begging now. قَالَ رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي. He prayed to Allah to ask for something. But if you want to ask for something, you must first seek forgiveness and then ask. So he said, "Oh Allah, kindly forgive me. وَهَبْ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي, and grant me a kingdom which can belong to none after me. And grant me a kingdom which can belong to none after me." Why? Because he recognized that Jasad wants to inherit his holy kingdom and rule over his holy kingdom. The Jews refer to it as Holy Israel. I see no reason why I should not use the same term. He saw that the Jasad wants to inherit Holy Israel and rule over Holy Israel. He didn't want that to happen at all. So he recognized the Jasad to be Dajjal. This is the most important point made in this book. I recognize, yes, this is the first time anyone has interpreted the Quran like this. But if they come after me with their objections and this and that and the other, I don't intend to do anything else but to smile. That's all. So when Dajjal is in our world of space and time, he's only an empty shell. Everything that he does is externally programmed to do. But he's an evil being. Can Allah program an evil being to act in an evil way? Can he do it? Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq min sharri ma khalaq. It is in Allah's divine wisdom that he creates evil. Min sharri ma khalaq. So yes, Allah created him and Allah programmed him. externally programmed. Today it's called artificial intelligence. And President Putin is on record as saying this is the most important subject for the world today, artificial intelligence. I want to go beyond that to say that anything connected with Dajjal is only an empty shell. If a woman follows Dajjal, no matter how pretty she is, she's just an empty shell. She has nothing inside of her. And if you're using money that Dajjal has created, yes, your money is only an empty shell with nothing inside of it. Whether it be paper money or bitcoins or cryptocurrency. But I'm afraid, yes, you're going to get the fatwa. They're going to give the fatwa. The cryptocurrencies is halal and bitcoins is halal and so on. I want to end now. All I have done is to introduce the subject of Dajjal to you. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might help me to complete the second book, which is entitled From Jesus the True Messiah to Dajjal the False Messiah, A Journey in Islamic Eschatology. And then I have a third and a fourth and a fifth. Please make dua that I may be able to do it. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, for a beautiful lecture there. Brothers and sisters, we have refreshments there on the left, so you're more than welcome to help yourself there. We'll take a short break right now for around 15 minutes or so. We do have our books obviously here on Jerusalem and the Quran and the methodology in the Quran, and once you brothers and sisters who haven't had the chance to look at it, please do so. And then once we obviously come back from the break, we'll continue with the Q&A. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. We should now start with the question and answer session. The very first questions on this note. How does Dajjal physically look like?
Right on this one. What is the physical appearance of Dajjal? The Prophet ﷺ has answered that question. He said that Dajjal will be a Jew, meaning he'll appear in the form of a Jew, of a young man, powerfully built, with the curls that the Orthodox Jews have at the side of their head, because the Torah prohibits them from cutting it. There's another hadith in which he says, every prophet has warned his people about Dajjal, and the Prophet Nuh alayhi salam warned his people about Dajjal, meaning long before the time of Sulaiman alayhi salam. But I'm going to tell you something that no one has ever said before me. So the Christians don't have this in their eschatology, and the Jews don't have this in their eschatology, but we have it in our eschatology. What is it? Dajjal sees with his left eye, he's blind in the right eye, it looks like a bulging grape. A bulging grape, meaning you can't possibly miss. You have to be blind not to see that this man is blind in his right eye. But your Lord is not one-eyed. Between his eyes, on his forehead, is written the word kafir, 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 disbeliever. And every mu'min will be able to read kafir, whether the mu'min is katib or ghayru katib, meaning literate or illiterate. You can read and write, or you can't read and write, you'll still be able to read. Well then why can the kafir not read? Why? The mu'min can read, but the kafir cannot read. So we send the kafir to the eye specialist, and the report comes back, perfect vision. Perfect vision. So now the question is, what is it that causes the mu'min to be able to read, whether he can write and read or not, and the kafir cannot read, even if he has perfect vision and he knows how to read and write? Do we have any other eyes besides these eyes? That's the big question. And this is a branch of knowledge called epistemology. It's a big word, don't be frightened with it. Epistemology. Dajjal's epistemology, which is the epistemology of modern Western civilization, which is what you get with a university education, is that these are the only eyes that we have. The knowledge comes only from external observation and experimentation and rational inquiry. Knowledge does not come from any other source. This is the scientific method. The first part, the knowledge comes from observation and experimentation. That's correct. The second part, the knowledge does not come from any other source. That's wrong. The Quran gives a different epistemology. The Quran says that in addition to external sight, we also have internal sight. The Quran says that the heart can see, provided that you have faith in the heart, and Allah puts nur in the heart. You can see. In Surah what is it? Is it Surah Al-Hajj? Do you have any Hafiz here? فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَتَكُونَ لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ يَعْقِلُونَ بِهَا مولانا عبد اللطيف, which surah? أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, will they now travel to the earth? فَتَكُونَ لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ يَعْقِلُونَ بِهَا, so that their dead hearts might come alive. And with their hearts, which are alive, they can now be able to understand what otherwise they could not understand. أَوْ آذَانٌ يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا, so that they not be able to hear what otherwise they could not hear. فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ, but no, says Allah, it's not these eyes which are blind. فَلَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ, it's not these eyes which are blind. وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبَ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ, what is blind is the heart which is inside the chest. This is the epistemology of the Quran. So now it's possible for us to interpret the hadith. That when Dajjal sees with the left eye, it symbolizes the capacity to acquire knowledge externally. He has external sight. And when Dajjal is blind in the right eye, it symbolizes internal blindness. The mu'min can be able to read kafir because he's not reading with these eyes. He's reading with the internal eye. And the kafir cannot read because he's only reading with the external eye. And so, the last thing about Dajjal that has been conveyed to us, which did not come to us with Nabi Isa alayhi salam, with Nabi Musa alayhi salam, Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, but has now come to us in the world with Nabi Muhammad alayhi salam, is that Dajjal's epistemological attack will be one of the most significant weapons that he has. That he reduces mankind to a state of internal blindness. He reduces mankind to a state of internal blindness. Now, I wish they had not invented the word Sufism. I wish they had never invented the word Tasawwuf. My life would have been so much easier. When our Prophet, when Jibreel alayhi salam gave us another word of Al-Ihsan, it didn't mean the same thing. You're waging a war on the Sufis. We're on Tasawwuf. When Tasawwuf and Ihsan is the same thing. أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه بعين القلب. That is what has to be added to the hadith. Al-Ihsan is that you should worship Allah and serve Allah as though you're seeing Him. Not with these eyes, but rather with the heart, with the internal. So that is tasawwuf, that is Sufism. And if you don't have that, you can't travel. Oh no, you can't travel. The problem with tasawwuf today is that they have started different religious practices which are not based on the Sunnah. So what do? Don't take up big boxing gloves to fight with them over the religious practices which are not based on the Sunnah. Okay? Don't do that. It's better to just smile. Yes. And that part which is based on the Quran and Sunnah, that is the highest stage of religion. And you need that in order to be able to penetrate the subject of Dajjal. And so the Sufis should have been leading the world. But they also say paper money halal. Yes. And they also say you could buy the first house with a bank loan on interest. Yeah. I don't see any difference between the Sufi and the others. Maybe there used to be authentic Sufi shuyukh in the past. My gentle advice to the world of Sufis is it will be beneficial for you and you'll be able to climb to the highest ladder if you will concentrate on only those religious practices which are firmly based on the Quran and Sunnah. That's all. That's all. And then the Sufi can teach us the subject of Dajjal.
Can we have questions first from the sisters, please? Possibly.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. You mentioned that you see potential for scholarship from Britain regarding Akhir Zaman and the monetary system. I also heard from in the past that Hijra may be a way. How do you reconcile between the two? Should we try and develop here or?
Good question. I would like to remind you that Allah has given a command in the Quran. He says, Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. If you are confident that you can raise your babies and your children in the cities of the modern world, then you're a bigger fool than I thought you were. Yeah. It is not possible. They're coming with cryptocurrencies now. And the marvelous, wonderful thing about cryptocurrencies, and don't forget that they have the jinn working with them, is that with these supercomputers managed by the jinn, they will now be able to identify every single human being who is not buying alcohol. Yeah? They don't have to do the work, the computer will do it for them. And when they have the list of all those who never buy alcohol, they'll now look to see how you have any school fees for your children, where your children go to school and so on. And when they see you don't want your children to be exposed to a school where they're taught that a man can marry another man and get a marriage certificate, and you're looking for a school where you can be safe and you can't find, and you're homeschooling your children, guess what they'll do? They have identified you 1 flag, 2 flag, 3 flag, they will write you. They will invent an excuse and send the police and seize your children from you. What can you do? Nothing. You've lost your children. At that time, don't send me an email. No, don't send me an email. You will lose your own children by continuing to live amongst them. What do? If you want to pursue knowledge in this island, as I'm advising that you do, make sure you take your wives and your children out of harm's way. Okay? Take them out of harm's way. If you can make hijrah out of England, then that's better. If you cannot, then make hijrah out of the cities to the remote countryside.
Sheikh, I had a question in regards to Dajjal when he appears as a human being. I've read quite a lot about the Rothschild family from my research, who claim to be the descendants of Suleiman and David alayhi salam. And in the year 1820s, I think I read an article in which they said that from them would come the Messiah. And from that time to now, whether it be the Balfour Declaration, the ownership of the central banks, they seem to be behind a lot of things, even the 2 world wars as well. Would it be therefore safe to assume that when he appears in human form, he will be of that family, of Rothschild?
No, what we can identify is that no Jew will accept him as the Messiah unless and until he can trace his lineage back to Nabi Dawood alayhi salam. Because we know what is Allah said in the Quran. Ya Dawood, inna ja'alnaka khalifatan fil ard. This ayah of the Quran. So it is from the house of David, Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, that must come the line which will eventually lead to the Messiah. He has to bring back the golden age of Dawood alayhi salam and Suleiman alayhi salam. So he has to show a lineage going back to the house of David.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Do you know if now the Jews have said that they want to make they've made Jerusalem the head, or they're gonna make Jerusalem the head of Israel? Or will they introduce a monarchy so that those who claim descent from Hazrat Suleiman and Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam, so eventually the Dajjal can be crowned as king? That's my question.
The question is, will Israel have to change from being a secular modern state and return to what it was, the Holy Israel was, a monarchy? The answer is yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Now, according to a hadith, there's the Prophet said when Isa alayhi salam comes back down, that he'll break the cross, kill the swine, and abolish the jizya. This has been kind of baffling me. I mean, would you be able to lightly elaborate on this, please?
It is a difficult hadith to explain, and I cannot claim that I'm confident that I have mastered the understanding or penetrated this hadith. No. Jizya is a tax imposed after a jihad has taken place, and a conquered people want to continue to reside in the territory which has been conquered, and they belong to Ahlul Kitab. So they will be allowed to continue to reside in that territory. Since they are not Muslims, they do not pay zakat. Instead, they pay jizya. The payment of the jizya has to be in person. You can't write a check and send it. No. You got to pay it in person. And it's meant to symbolize your submission to the result of the jihad, that you are submitting to our rule in your territory. Okay? That is jizya. Can a law be cancelled? The law is in the Quran, jizya. Can it be cancelled? Allah speaks in the Quran and He says, مَا نَنْسَخْ مِنْ آيَةٍ أَوْ نُنْسِهَا نَأْتِ بِخَيْرٍ مِنْهَا أَوْ مِثْلِهَا. That yes, a law which has come from Allah can be cancelled or can be forgotten and can be replaced with another law. This is Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 106. It does not apply to cancellation of laws in the Quran. It applies to cancellation of ayat which came before the Quran. Okay? However, a prophet has the right, if he is ordered by Allah, to change a law. And it is possible, I cannot deny, that Allah can communicate to Nabi Isa alayhi salam to cancel or to change the law of jizya. Okay? But I'm treading on very difficult territory on this issue. And I'm not going to speak with confidence. No. Because you asked the question, I'm forced to offer you some preliminary comments on the subject, okay? Breaking the cross could mean His great anger of those who attempted to crucify Him. His great anger with them that they attempted to crucify Him. Breaking the cross could mean that they would have to now run for their lives. Those who wanted to crucify Him and who were so pleased with when he was put on the cross to be crucified. Okay. Killing the swine could mean killing those people who wanted Him crucified, referring to them as swine. Okay? I'm not impressed by a view that Nabi Isa alayhi salam will take a knife in his hand and start killing pigs all over the world. No, it doesn't seem to me. It doesn't seem to me to make sense. A prophet of Allah taking a knife and going killing the pigs all over. No. It seems to me that there are people with whom his anger is so great that they are like pigs, swine. These are my preliminary, I say, it's a difficult hadith. Yeah.
Thank you, Jazakallah. Can we have a question from the second one, please?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Sheikh, drawing on the question of the brother, would it be correct to imply that abolishing the jizya implies that there would be no more non-Muslims after Isa alayhi salam is back?
We are now, your question is, if the abolition of jizya implies that there will be no more non-Muslims. Okay? We are now moving into that territory which is unexplored for me. I said to you, I have not satisfied that I penetrated this hadith, so I prefer not to answer your question. Yeah.
Thank you. Can we have a question from the third section, please?
Sheikh, you have advised us that using the paper money is haram, and in future advent of cryptocurrency, it is also haram. So for a layman like us, we can't do nothing about paper currency, we can't do nothing about cryptocurrency. Using these currencies, what can we do, and how sinful we are to use this haram money and paper money? Is out of our control.
Okay. The question is, if paper currency is haram and we are all trapped in it, we can't get out, what do we do? The answer comes from a prophecy of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in which he said, the time will come when you will not be able to find a single human being, a single person in all of mankind who will not be consuming riba. And whoever says that he is not consuming riba, verily the dust of riba would be upon him. Verily the vapor of riba would reach him. The monetary system is built on riba. Paper money monetary system, the petrodollar monetary system, the electronic monetary system, the cryptocurrencies, the Bitcoin, all of them built on riba. So the answer is there is no total escape. None. Nobody can escape, according to this prophecy. What do you do when there is no escape from evil? This is evil, that is evil. Answer? Choose the lesser evil. Always turn to the lesser evil, said the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, what is the lesser evil for us? Answer? You should try to get gold and silver coins, and whatever wealth you have, keep it in this money, rather than keeping it in that money. When I was 5 years of age, in 1947, my father bought a car to take me to school. He was a school principal. And he started taking me to the market every Saturday. And as a 5-year-old child, I'll have my little basket there. I'm going with Papa. And I saw him with these eyes, I saw him buy 100 oranges for $1. Today, 70 years later, with $1 I cannot even buy one orange. So if I had saved that $1 in paper money, and it had a value of 100 oranges, today, 70 years later, it doesn't have the value of even one orange. The Quran has prohibited this 3 times. 3 times. وَلَا تَبْخَسُ النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُمْ. But in Surah Al-Kahf, the young men slept for 300 years. They had money that they could buy some food, maybe biryani. After having slept for 300 years, the same money they took out could still buy the biryani. Meaning, the money successfully stored value. Gold dinar and silver dirham will do that. So if you want to be sensible, you will take the wealth that you have and put it in dinar and dirham. If you leave it in paper, it's going to fall in value. If you keep it in dinar and dirham, it is safe from losing value. Number 2, if you move to the remote countryside to preserve the family, preserve your faith, you can start a market, small market, micro market. You cannot do it at the macro level unless you take control of the state. But at the micro level, you can start a market in which you can buy and sell using dirhams. Yes. And surely Allah will be pleased with a servant who tries to bring back the Sunnah and bring back what is in the Quran. Yeah.
Next question, please. Question I have is, how long do you think we have?
Before Santa Claus comes? Before what?
Before the Dajjal, the appearance of the Dajjal.
Before the appearance of Dajjal. Okay. It is quite possible that a day, like a week, has already commenced. Okay? But Pax Judaica has not commenced. I don't know how long we have between now and the Great War. All I can say is close. I don't expect the Great War is going to last for long. It could last for maybe half an hour. That's what Putin said. We only need half an hour to reduce the whole of the United States to ashes. That's what he said. Half an hour. After the Great War takes place, there is still life on earth. Because the Prophet spoke about this great army. He praised the army, yeah? We should conquer Constantinople. So, I don't know how long it will take between the Great War, the emergence of Pax Judaica, the end of Pax Judaica, the conquest of Constantinople, and for the appearance of Dajjal. I'm not going to offer any figure. All I can say is it's not going to be as long as Pax Americana, but much shorter than Pax Americana.
Salam Sheikh. Will there be an alliance between Dajjal and Ya'juj and Ma'juj, or are they two separate entities and events in history?
What is the relationship which exists between Dajjal and Gog and Magog? Are they two separate entities? And how are they related in history? Answer, Allah created both. Allah created Dajjal, and in Sahih Muslim, in Sahih Muslim Hadith al-Qudsi, I have created creatures of mine so powerful that none but I can destroy them. Gog and Magog. We have 2 ayats of the Quran. وَإِسْتَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكَ لَيَبْعَثَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ مَنْ يَسُومُهُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ. And your Lord God has declared that I will now release and send against them those who will, until the last day, inflict upon them terrible, terrible, terrible punishment. The only thing that could explain this is Dajjal and Gog and Magog. So clearly Gog and Magog and Dajjal are created by Allah, and they have their missions to perform that Allah has given to them. وَاتَّقُوا فِتْنَةً لَا تُصِيبَنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْكُمْ خَاصَّةً وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعَذَابِ. Another ayah, this is from Anfal. And be conscious of the fact, and fear that fitna, which when it is unleashed into the world, will not target only those who are wicked. All of mankind will be targeted by that fitna, which is a means through which Allah punishes. If referring again to Dajjal as well as to Gog and Magog. So Allah is the one who has programmed them. Obviously they have to work in tandem with each other. I can probably say that Gog and Magog are his foot soldiers. Yeah, that's how they combine with each other. Yeah.
Thank you. Next question. Anyone else have any questions? Can we try this through there? Okay.
He's answered it for me, so.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I was going to ask, what significance do the 13 lost tribes of Israel have on the end times, if any?
You'll have to repeat the question.
What significance do the 13 lost tribes of Israel have?
The 13 lost tribes of Israel. That's not an area in which I have expertise. I could suggest to you to read, is it Alfred Kessler, the 13th tribe? What's his name? Kessler, the 13th tribe.
Yeah.
Good book to read.
Oh, okay. Next question over here.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. When Dajjal comes, what will happen to Orthodox Christians as well as Muslims, who believe in Muslims?
When Zulkarnain comes, what's going to happen between Orthodox Christians and Muslims?
When Dajjal comes.
When Dajjal comes, what's going to happen between Orthodox Christians and Muslims? But what Dajjal did, and about this now I'm comfortable that I've understood it, is that Dajjal created the Ottoman Empire. But Dajjal is not a fool. No. So he'll use the Ottoman Empire with 90% of dazzling beauty and truth in order to infiltrate you with the 10% of pure poison. So I'm not concerned with all the good things that the Ottoman Empire did. Do not bore me with it. I'm concerned with the real agenda of the Ottoman Empire. And the real agenda of the Ottoman Empire was to sabotage any possibility of friendship and alliance between Muslims and Orthodox Christians in Akhir Zaman. But because Allah has said in the Quran that this is going to happen, وَلَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ نَصَارَى. Because this is in the Quran, I don't care. The Muslims in Bosnia and in Albania and in Kosovo and so on could be as angry as they want with me. The Muslims in Turkey could say what they want to with me. I will just smile and say to them, wait and you will see. If Allah has ordained it, Dajjal can't stop it. that there will be reconciliation and friendship and alliance between the Orthodox Christian world and the Muslim world, and they cannot stop it. But I have another comment to make, that in the same way that Dajjal created the Ottoman Empire to sabotage us and to try to create eternal enmity and hatred and hostility between Muslims and Orthodox Christians, and he did a good job, One of the most important things he did, to put a dagger deep into the heart of the Orthodox Christian, which is still bleeding to this day, was to take the greatest cathedral of the Orthodox Christian world, Hagia Sophia, and convert it into a masjid. Oh yes, the Ottomans knew what they were doing. They knew that by doing that, there will be eternal hatred between the Orthodox Christians and Muslims. That's why they did it. But what they did was disgraceful, shameful, manifestly sinful. And I find it strange and mysterious that the scholars of Islam should have spent 500 to 600 years and still cannot recognize that this was in conflict with the Quran, and they have not raised their voices to condemn it. They will have to answer to Allah for that. Now look at the Mughal Empire in India. And they did exactly, or what I should say is the information which I have received. If that information is correct, then the Mughal Empire in India did exactly what the Ottomans did, to sabotage us in the end time in India. And they succeeded. They took the holiest spot for the Hindus. That was the holiest spot for the Christians in the Orthodox Christian world, Constantinople, Hagia Sophia. They took the birthplace, if the information which I have received is correct, let me qualify, the birthplace of an important Hindu god called Ram, which is the most sacred spot for them, the Hindus. And they demolished the temple which was there. This is the Emperor Aurangzeb. If the information I have received is correct, and he built a masjid on that spot called Babri Masjid. To his eternal shame, to his eternal disgrace. That is what Aurangzeb did, if the information I have received is correct. So that there will be eternal hatred and enmity and hostility between Hindus and Muslims, as the Ottoman Empire planned for between Orthodox Christians and Muslims. If you have eyes with which to see, you should be able to recognize this is Dajjal's work. And what we should do is that in the same way we condemn what the Ottomans did, and we say to the Christians, when we conquer Constantinople, we will return this cathedral to you and apologize to you. The Indian Muslims better wake up, if the information I have received is correct, and apologize to the Hindus for what Aurangzeb did, and say to them, this can never be a masjid. No, we do not recognize that this can be a masjid. Not where a temple once existed, and it was destroyed by that man so wickedly. Apologize to the Hindu world for what was done. And forget any thought about this being a masjid, and let the Hindus recover the territory, the building as their temple, and let them build a temple. This could be the beginning of the Muslim community of India beginning to have some sense in their head here.
Thank you, Sheikh. Next question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. What's your name?
Fahim.
Oh yes, I remember Fahim. How old are you?
8.
8, Fahim. Okay, Fahim.
So, the Dajjal got tied up from his arms to his neck with a chain. That was somewhere in a place. Was he young then? Was he young or old?
Oh yes, he was young. He was young. Maybe as young as Papa. Yeah, he was young. Because our Prophet said he's a young man. He's a Jew, he's a young man. Powerfully built.
How many years was he tied up for?
Maybe 20, maybe 30. I didn't ask him. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Okay, alhamdulillah.
Because we see a conflict between Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims leading to the Malhama.
I see Dajjal's plan at work. That he needs to provoke Sunni Shia civil war in the house of Islam in Akhirul Zaman, so that Israel can exploit the disarray in the house of Islam. At that moment when Muslims are fighting each other like stupid fools, then Israel will be able to walk in very easily and comfortably and wage a big war and expand the territory of the state from the river Nile to the river Euphrates. They've not been able to succeed so far. They tried with a bogus jihad in Syria. They tried with a bogus ISIS. And now they're trying with a bogus little boy called Muhammad bin Salman, trying to provoke Sunni Shia civil war.
Okay, just one more question now before we end. Someone who has asked a question.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Just in terms of the Holy Land, Israel continuing to expand and the temple being built, do you feel the temple will be built in terms of, or Israel will expand whilst the Muslims will continue to have a weapon in which they can defend themselves with it being nuclear weapons? Do you still feel, is that an obstacle that needs to be removed before Israel can expand, or is that something, your insight please?
The most powerful weapon that the Muslim and the Christian have in the Holy Land with which to resist oppression is a wonderful weapon, a magnificent weapon that every Jew cherishes in his heart. It's called a stone. And with a stone, Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, David, killed Jalut or Goliath. And so a stone is a more powerful weapon than a nuclear weapon. A stone has immense symbolic importance. And that's what the Palestinians have, Muslims as well as Christians. They don't need anything more powerful than that, just a stone. Just keep on throwing the stones at the oppressor, and you'll be shattering his heart, because he knows what is the history of a stone. Our Prophet said that one day the stones will speak. And they will say, come and kill him, the Jew who is hiding behind the stone. Not a Jew who is not an oppressor. No. Why should you want to kill a Jew who is standing with you and opposing oppression? Have some common sense. The Prophet is speaking about those Jews who are oppressors. But oppression has reached such a limit They are now on a one-way road. The Jews in the Holy Land are now on a one-way road to destruction. They can't stop it now. The train is going. If you keep on oppressing and oppressing and oppressing, every right-minded person in Britain will be able to understand what is oppression. Yeah. You cannot hide it forever. The hadith is that oppression will intensify to such an extent that when the time comes to punish the oppressor, even the stones will speak.
Okay, this is the last question.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Sheikh, you said earlier in the talk that Dajjal, he's going to go in every town, every city. There's a hadith, if I'm not mistaken.
Including Birmingham. Yeah,
Nelson also, maybe. There's a hadith, if I'm not mistaken, that he can't enter Makkah or Medina or the Haramain. Is there any relevance or significance of that?
Yes, it refers to that time when Dajjal is in our world of space and time. Then as a human being or someone appearing in the form of a human being, the angels will block him, he cannot enter into Makkah and Medina. But at this time he's there. Oh yes, Dajjal is there in Makkah and Medina. The evidence is plain and clear. The hadith is talking about when he is in our world of space and time. At that time the angels will block him, he cannot enter.
Last question, Sheikh. Can you repeat this last question, please?
Next time when you come here, how are we going to know that you are here? Because this time by accident we knew, honestly.
Good question. All of those who are here present should make contact with Hosein so that you have a contact information. We're not going to broadcast it on the London Times. No. We have to do it through private communications when I'm here. So if you stay in touch with Hosein and his brother Siraj out there, for Birmingham, for Manchester, the same brother out there, Asif, and his brother Hosein, Muhammad, and Imam Jalaluddin for Manchester, and for London, Ashraf, who is there handling the books. Okay? All right.
Jazakallah Sheikh for your talk today.
I'd like to thank each and every single one of you for turning up today. And we obviously thank Sheikh Imran for obviously visiting our city of Birmingham. Inshallah, we hope that he returns soon. I believe sometime in March. And inshallah, just stay in touch with Hosein and brother Siraj, and we'll obviously organize another similar event to this one.
The last 2 weeks of March.
Last 2 weeks of March.
Last 2 weeks of March. مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك ربنا وتعاليت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا الأشياء كما هي. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.